Hello, Manic Mercurian here, and in this video I would like to go over the astrology for Tuesday, August 24th through Monday, August 30th, 2021. And yeah, let's just get into it. So starting out here, August 24th on a Tuesday, we've got Moon is in Pisces. It's, crossing over Neptune sometime during the day, depending on when you are, and the moon is we're coming down off of the high that was the full moon at the end of Aquarius that just happened the day before on the 23rd. So now, the moon is still very light in the sky, but it is beginning to wane. So we're beginning to come down off of that intensity just a little bit, and the moon is going through Pisces, and today is the first day of Virgo, sort of. It's the first day with the sun fully in Virgo. Now it's at 1 degree of Virgo. So might technically be the second day, depending on how you count it. It's the first day where the sun begins the day in Virgo. And so we're just entering Virgo season, entering this final third section of summer. And what else? Okay, so moon is, still sort of opposing, but coming away from that aspect. And the moon will actually enter Aries on this day, on the 24th. And the only aspect I have for Tuesday the 24th is Mercury at 22 degrees Virgo, which happens to be my natal placement for Mercury as well. But so Mercury is at 22 degrees Virgo, and it's opposing Neptune at 22 degrees Pisces. And this is interesting. Mercury is in domicile and exalted in Mercury, and it's making this exact opposition to Neptune, or as I like to call it, Dionysus, which is also in domicile. Did I say Mercury was in detriment? I meant it was in domicile. Mercury's exalted and in domicile in Virgo, opposing Neptune, which is in domicile in Pisces. So both these planets are kind of clashing together, and they're both in very strong placements. They're both at home right now, so they're both functioning in a very normal and very strong way. But they're both sort of making this connection and clashing with one another. So the way I would translate this is I would say it could be mentally destabilizing, mentally and emotionally destabilizing. So we have to take care of our physical health, our mental health, emotional health. And I would say maybe just to have moderation. Don't jump to conclusions, because our perceptions might be distorted, or we might be very sensitive at this time. We might be, the only word that comes to mind is like crazy. We might not be thinking rationally. So make sure to just maybe take some time, double check your conclusions before acting, and do things to promote stability. I would say not to get lost in like fastness. That would be destabilizing mentally anyway, but especially with this type of aspect, I think it would be important to be more slow in your thinking if you can, and steady. And not only will that ensure that you don't make miscalculations, but it will also work to improve your own mental and emotional stability. And if you can, partake in activities which allow you to integrate and to relax, and if you can sort of mull things over or reflect on things, I guess is a better word, that type of activity would be good for avoiding that emotional or mental burnout, or destabilizing energy of this aspect. But that's the main thing. Moon enters Aries, like I said. So otherwise, we still have I guess now it's just Venus and Mercury out of the inner planets that are in domicile, and Sun entering Virgo. The sun has just joined Mars and Mercury in Virgo. So Virgo is definitely the main focal point right now. It's the end of summer. Things are changing. We're in a mutable sign now. So there's sort of a change of the seasons that we are all kind of feeling now. That's, about to occur as we prepare to enter fall. So I think changes to seasons can be sort of invigorating, and it can kind of make you feel more aware, when there's a change on the horizon. And all four of the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, they're all sort of about learning and growing in some way or another, because you're combining new energies into the mix. You're, integrating and, you know, integrating and combining new energies sort of, and acquiring new ideas or information. So yeah, at this time, at this sort of month that we're now entering, that is the season of Virgo, I think maybe we're all more, I don't know, more aware. Not that Leo isn't aware, but maybe just aware in a different way, more mentally aware, emotionally aware, more I don't know. I think just having some kind of change, like a change of seasons on the horizon, just makes you more conscious in some kind of way. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Anyway, moving forward to Wednesday, August 25th. Let's go forward. Moon continues to transit Aries, and Moon will conjoin Chiron and oppose Venus, sort of all at the same time. Not exactly, since Chiron's at 12 degrees Aries and Venus is at 11 degrees Libra on the 25th of August. But yeah, there's that little brief moment where the moon quickly combines with Chiron and opposes Venus. That to me seems very much having to do with empathy and emotions and social interactions. We might be very sensitive in our interactions with other people, and very much pick up on vibes with other people, and be very empathetic. But Chiron's energies can be awkward socially, so there could be this awkwardness between being very sensitive and very much picking up on other people's vibes and emotions, and maybe very aware of other people's emotions, very empathetic, but at the same time, it's all about balancing that with what's going on inside of you. Moon is in Aries, so the emotional focus is on sort of ourselves at that moment. But then that's sort of clashing with Venus in Libra, which wants to be more diplomatic and considerate of others. So there's that little clash that could be, in its best form, I think we could be very empathetic and in tune with one another at that time on the 25th. And in its worst form, I think we could all be overly sensitive and neurotic, or easily offended, like too sensitive, like, getting carried away with emotions that are caused by some little or some non-existent thing socially. So that's just a little thing. It's just the moon we're talking about, so that's a quick aspect. It'll just probably affect part of the 25th. And Chiron is a dwarf planet or comet or whatever you want to call it. Its effects to me are definitely tangible, but they're not nearly as strong as a planet's energy, or one of these other major players. So with it being Chiron and the moon involved, which is so fast, this isn't a big deal. It would just be felt on part of the 25th, if at all. You might not even feel it depending on your own astrology. But if you do have planets in Aries or Libra, you might pick up on this for sure. And there's no exact aspects, not including the moon, on Wednesday the 25th. Moon's going through Aries all day. Sun's still at the first few degrees of Virgo. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything else. Mercury's preparing to trine Chiron. Trine Pluto. I'm sorry, trine Pluto on the next day. Let me see here. Yes. Okay, one moment. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the only main thing I noticed. Let's just go forward to Thursday the 26th. Earlier on Thursday than this chart, so if I go back a little bit, that's where we'll have that exact trine between Mercury at 24 degrees Virgo, trining Pluto at 24 degrees Capricorn. And so our thinking, and but I also say it's also the rhythm of the day. It's the Sun and Mercury contribute to like the rhythm of the day or the vibe of the day. But then Mercury is more intellectual. It's how we're thinking. It's our, I don't know, Mercury's the planner. So it's almost like it plans out your day sort of. And it's also how everyone's thinking and communicating. So all of that will make this connection with Pluto and Capricorn, which is such a heavy and long-term focused energy. And Mercury being in Virgo, making that connection, I think Thursday the 26th would be a good day for making very long-term plans, or plans involving like a very big group or organization or company or something like that. Being able to think about the very long term, or the very big picture involving many different working parts. It might be a good day to make some kind of like elaborate or complex plan like that. Otherwise, for everyone else who's not making these like crazy long-term plans, I don't know, we might just be more cognizant of long-term effects. We might be thinking, more steps ahead than we normally would, which would be good. I see this mostly as a positive thing, especially with Mercury in domicile and exalted. There's not much that can go wrong. The only downside I could see to this would be Mercury making a connection to such a heavy energy could have us be maybe kind of serious or rigid. We might be a little bit pessimistic, but other than that, we're just thinking more long term, generally speaking, more holistically on the 26th. And Mercury is going very quick right now as well. So that aspect really just applies to Thursday, the 26th. And pretty much all day Thursday, we have Moon transiting Aries. However, depending on where you are, the Moon will enter Taurus either very late on Thursday, the 26th, or very early on Friday, the 27th. So once we go forward to Friday, the 27th, Moon is fully in Taurus at this time. And remember, it's still winding down. The Moon has been waning this whole time. It's moving away from that place where it was full. It's losing light, and now it's preparing to make that it'll be a quarter moon in Gemini, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the Moon is winding down, getting less energy, less light. And I really like this, though, because the Moon in Taurus trines the Sun, and that's very tangible for us. It's always just more kind of relaxed or normal or pleasant, generally speaking, when the Moon and the Sun are trining like this. They're both in signs that share the same element. So that's just kind of a nice, easygoing energy, especially with the Moon in Taurus, which is exalted, and Taurus is such a nice, easygoing energy anyway, and the Moon is in such a dignified, like, strong place. That just looks really, really nice. There is that cluster in Virgo, so depending on your own astrology, that might be really good if you're naturally oriented toward Virgo energy, or if Virgo energy would benefit you if you're open to Virgo energy. But if there's not a lot of Virgo in your chart, or if it's a sign that's maybe more difficult for you to experience, that's the only potential trouble I could see, that it might be hard for you to embrace an energy that's maybe different from your own, just depending on your own astrology. But if that is the case, it's always good to kind of be open to all the 12 signs have something to offer. And so sometimes if we don't like a sign's energy, it's just showing that we're sort of lacking in that area. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, in general, it looks like a generally positive time. On Friday the 27th, the Moon is exalted, Venus is in domicile, and Venus is in domicile ruling over the Moon, which is extra nice. The Venus is sort of accommodating for the Moon, you could say, whatever that means. And then the Moon does cross over Uranus, which could be a little bit more unpredictable and destabilizing, especially like financially, or with the things that support us with resources or commodities. But that is a little aspect. Again, it's the Moon we're talking about. Moon is very quick. Lunar aspects are generally speaking, not a big deal, unless it's a really particular circumstance, or it's a full moon or something like that, or a new moon. Okay, and yeah, I think I said enough about Friday. Looks like a good Friday too, especially considering the fact that it's Friday. It looks like good vibes. I think in general this week and the previous couple weeks at least, there hasn't been anything super, super crazy. The only exception would be the Lionsgate on August 8th. That was pretty crazy, but there's nothing that's been super like destabilizing or crazy. So I think it's been a kind of nice, relatively casual time. I know there are certain things kind of simmering in the world, which I don't even want to bring that up right now. But generally speaking, I think things are relatively casual. I like the moon in Taurus, being ruled over by Venus in domicile, making a trine to all these Earth, Virgo planets. I mean, this looks really nice on Friday. It looks like how a Friday should be. I wouldn't say it's like the most rowdy, like party type of energy. It looks more just stable and peaceful. It's very earthy, a lot of earth energy. So it looks like just a pleasant, casual type of day on Friday the 27th. Going forward to Saturday the 28th, moon is still in Taurus, and looks like it actually crosses over Uranus maybe early on the 28th. And sorry about that. And okay, what else? There's not much happening, to be honest. So there's no actual like planetary aspects that are exact on the 27th or the 28th. All we have is the moon kind of trining all these Virgo planets. Virgo planets being Sun, Mars, and Mercury. Mercury at this point is entering the final degrees of Virgo. Its transit through Virgo is very quick, and it's already approaching the sign of Libra, almost ready to join Venus in Libra. But other than that, I won't lie to you, there's not much going on. If anything, Saturday is a continuation of Friday, so you still have all those earth energies, everything I just talked about. Moon ruled over by Venus and Libra, making those trines to Sun, Mars, and Mercury in Virgo. Again, especially the trine between the moon and the sun, looks just very pleasant and earthy, very grounded on Friday and Saturday. We can be kind of clear in our thinking and organized, and maybe appreciate nature more. It looks like a pretty chill vibe. It's a good time. Again, the only exception would be if you like abhor earth energy, in which case I would suggest maybe, try to learn to integrate it just a little bit. But generally speaking, it looks like a good time for everybody. Okay, going forward to Sunday the 29th. So moon right here, around midday, I believe this is Eastern Standard Time. Moon is right just about to enter Gemini. So moon does enter Gemini sometime during the day, depending on where you are. And let's see here. So one thing that's interesting, which I don't even know exactly how to begin to explain, the sun, well, let's start out here. So the nodes are at 6 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius, north node being at 6 degrees Gemini, south node being at 6 degrees Sagittarius. And the sun is at 6 degrees Virgo, and so the sun is squaring both the nodes. It's making a T-square with the lunar nodes. And what this means is we're halfway between eclipse season, basically. So this isn't nearly as intense as an eclipse would be, but it is sort of indicative of that type of energy. We're almost at a crossroads relating to the eclipse seasons. And this is particularly interesting because the moon is conjoining the north node at the same time, which is kind of highlighting that same energy. It looks like it would actually be very late on Sunday or early on Monday. So late on Sunday the 29th or early on Monday the 30th. Moon will also conjoin the north node, and sun will square the nodes. So really I would say Sunday and Monday this would be applicable, that the sun has reached this turning point, and it just happens to coincide with the moon lighting up this same lunar axis as well. And so if something began for you that was life-changing back in June, in Gemini season, or maybe late May, that thing that began may have a turning point. It may develop substantially right around this time, around August 29th or 30th. And it could be, these are more long-term type of cycles, so I would say give or take at least 2 or 3 days on either side of this aspect. There could be some kind of changes, especially if you have a lot of mutable signs in your chart. That would be Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, once again. Yeah, you could experience some kind of transition or turning point, or that there could be adjustments that are made. It wouldn't be like a huge chapter that's starting or anything like that. It wouldn't be a dramatic life change, but it could be just some adjustments to some major life changes that happened back in May or June, if that makes sense. And it could be hints at future life changes that might happen in Sagittarius season in our next eclipse season, and that would be in November or December. I think I covered that pretty well. And then this is also, well, I could have phrased it this way as well. It's a first quarter moon. So the first quarter, third quarter moon. The third quarter moon is conjunct the North Node. That's basically the same. It's a different way of describing the same exact aspect. So moon squaring the sun, moon conjunct North Node, sun squaring both the nodes. Third quarter moon in Gemini at 6 degrees, conjuncting the North Node. It's a kind of a weird aspect. It's not a common thing. It's nothing super dramatic or crazy, but it is unusual. And that's why it's sort of difficult for me to articulate. But yeah, so it would be, there's a twist on, it's not a normal third quarter Gemini moon, if that makes sense. It's so a normal third quarter Gemini moon would be a time for making adjustments and changes. It'd be a time where we have to be very flexible. And again, if you're used to that, then that's good. You can embrace these changes and adjustments. But if you have a lot of fixed signs in your chart, this might be difficult for you because you want to resist change. So, it may be difficult or easy depending on your own astrology, but yeah, just in general, it represents sort of a transition. We might feel the normal kind of frenetic energy that would come from a third quarter moon or a Gemini moon for that matter. Feel that sort of extra activity and rambunctiousness, and I always say, like, children and pets and animals, and sometimes adults too for that matter, are more riled up and more anxious or more active during third quarter moons, especially with the moon in Gemini. But then, we might experience all that normal kind of frenetic, jittery energy that we would with a third quarter moon, especially in Gemini. But with it being conjunct the North Node and the sun therefore squaring the nodes, it also hints at a larger transition or a larger, more long-term adjustment. So hopefully that makes sense. And to be honest, if you don't have any planets near this, I'd say like in the first half of any of the mutable signs, you may not feel it so dramatically. You may just feel that kind of jittery or restless, active third quarter moon energy. That might be all that it is for you. You might not experience those life changes or adjustments as much as someone with maybe more mutable energy in their chart would. Okay, and I covered that sufficiently, I believe. Let's go forward to August 30th. So my notes say that the third quarter moon is technically very early on August 30th. I believe that is accurate. Okay, so I mean, yeah, depending on where you are, the third quarter moon is either on the 30th or the 29th. Either the 29th or the 30th. Okay, so yeah, really all this stuff that I'm talking about really applies to both Sunday and Monday, the 29th and 30th. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry that didn't flow super well, but the information is there though. I think I articulated it well enough. And then on the 30th as well, looks like early on the 30th, we have Mercury entering Libra. Or if you're in some time zone that's very different than mine, maybe it's on the 29th. But as we start the next week, Monday the 30th, we have Mercury freshly entering Libra. And yeah, I have mixed thoughts about Mercury in Libra. It's at first glance, it's a great place for Mercury. Libra is, because Mercury, especially in Western astrology, we very much associate Mercury with air, Air is the element of thought and communication and, people and connections. So of course, Mercury is going to totally feel at home in the air signs. And Libra is such a reflective and thoughtful sign. It's the scales. It's always weighing everything, weighing the pros and cons. So of course, Mercury is going to fit in pretty well there. We're gonna be all those things. We're gonna be reflecting and evaluating and thinking, maybe thinking more before we act. But then that's where Mercury can be. Mercury isn't in detriment in Libra, but it's not in domicile either. We can be a little bit indecisive with Mercury and Libra. We can get lost thinking, overthinking, and never doing. Because thinking and evaluating is good, but only if it sort of aids our actions, I guess, or brings us to some kind of conclusion. But if we're just thinking and evaluating and analyzing forever and always weighing the pros and cons and never reaching a conclusion or making an action, we can overthink things and maybe miss opportunities. So I mean, yeah, it's it's a good placement. It just may be slightly harder for us to be more decisive, I guess, or assertive. That's another thing. Mercury is, Libra can communicate very well. It can have that refined communication, and it's very aware of many different factors, and including like other people's thoughts and emotions. So Mercury, on the one hand, Mercury can communicate very effectively in Libra. On the other hand, Mercury may be more passive or maybe passive aggressive. Again, it may think too much and then miss opportunities. So it may not be as expressive as it might be in, let's say like a fire sign or even an earth sign for that matter. So it just depends. I mean, like Libra is kind of like a mixed bag. Mercury, even me talking about it, I feel like I could weigh the pros and cons forever. And I don't know. It's neither here nor there. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a very strong place for Mercury, but it's not the worst place either. It's a mixed bag. But with Mercury and Venus in Libra now, we might be more focused on our relationships and our interpersonal dynamics, especially one-on-one relationships. So of course that's romantic relationships, but also any type of like, if you have a close friend or if you're really close with like a sibling or a parent, and you're close enough with this person that they're kind of your main reference point. Like that's how we would mostly experience that with the romantic relationships, but it could be any type of relationship, any one-on-one type of dynamic. We'd be more focused on those types of things, more prioritizing that and evaluating those types of dynamics in our lives with Mercury and Venus there. And Venus would bring sort of abundance and harmony with those types of dynamics. And Mercury there, Mercury is neutral. It's neither a benefic nor a malefic. It just brings our focus to that area. It doesn't say Mercury's not going to improve it or hurt it. Venus might make things easier, but Mercury is more just putting our focus there. We're focusing on our interpersonal relationships, especially one-on-one dynamics. Other than that, Venus can be kind of focused on like pleasure, being ruled by a benefic, being ruled by Venus. But yeah, that's the main thing, those the one-on-one dynamics. Let's see here. Okay, and I think I covered everything. Was that it? One other thing too, so there is that transition from Saturday the 28th going into Sunday the 29th and then Monday the 30th. Just a couple days prior to Monday, this chart is so earthy on Saturday the 28th. And then if you go forward just a couple days to Monday the 30th, you've got Mercury enters Libra and Moon enters Gemini. And so suddenly everything's very airy, I would say. Now there's only Sun and Mars in Virgo. And I'm mostly focusing on the inner planets because the outer planets are mostly just like the backdrop or the more subtle long-term layers. And right now I'm mostly talking about the short term. But as for the short term, I would say there's very much a shift from a lot of earth energy to a lot of air energy. So starting out the week on Monday the 30th, we might feel lighter, more able to kind of speak or act freely, even though there is that Libra placement of Venus and Mercury, where we might be thinking more before we act. It's hard to articulate, but when there's more planets in air signs, it's almost like the air feels thinner. It's like you're more able to be spontaneous or do things. It's like there's less space between us and our other people, or even, I don't know, objects for that matter. Like you can just, I don't know, you can kind of behave more spontaneously. It's not so heavy. It's like you're lighter, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the energy that we'd be moving into on Monday. People might be more chatty, more social, whereas things would be more heavy, maybe slightly more serious or more sensual, more heavy, before starting the week on the 29th or 30th. And that's pretty much what I have. I think that was kind of quick, but yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully you got something out of that. And yeah, yep, that was it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.